Dana Abercrombie, The Coalition. Thank you so much for doing this. What I always love is I love learning how a movie comes together from the back end, from what we don't see on the screen. And so I was wondering, with this script, what was it that you looked at when reading was essential to the movie? A good question for all of you. Harry, can you please start?
Well, I think it's a pretty timeless story. This obviously it's set in the before 1400, so it's a medieval setting. Yet I think when you see the movie, you do relate to what's happening. You hear this woman's voice that is not being heard, and you recognize the scenario quite clearly. So I think what's really appealing is that although this is it's based on fact, and it's based on something that might have happened in the late 1300s, it's something that we could imagine happening today, and does happen today. So I think it was really appealing to see how the heck Ridley Scott was going to pull this off. A medieval film, but with a contemporary slant.
Wonderful. And for you, Jenny?
Well, ditto. Basically, I loved the fact that it was a true story. I loved it. I loved the script because it was a true story. I loved the fact that it combined battles and a duel and a Me Too, not moment, but a whole Me Too rhythm running through it. And I love the fact that Matt and Ben had written the script, which is the first script that they've written since Good Will Hunting.
Muted. Sorry. For you, Darius?
Well, the script is the first thing that drew me into it. And of course, my collaboration with Ridley, it's, I think, our 7th movie together. So great script, great director, 14th century France. I mean, you just can't go wrong. I mean, would love to, yeah. Was very excited about doing that, yeah. And also the relevance of the story, that it's very contemporary. Very important.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, one of the things I was wondering, especially for Darius, as a cinematographer, we do know that it's essentially, it's views like it's 3 different stories being told. We have these 3 different perspectives that's going on. So what, as a cinematographer, was you looking about to bring a difference to each perspective that we may have not really seen?
Well, I'm glad you haven't seen it, because it's hardly any, you just try to keep it. We did not want to make a stylistic huge differences, we just wanted the whole thing to express itself in the story and performances and the new ones and the different versions, which come strictly from the script.
Now, sorry.
The only thing that maybe we paid more attention to is to her perspective, which is very much more into her eyes, more like her POV of the world that is very hostile to her, basically.
Now, for Harry, the movie is very emotional, and I love what you did with the music. I was wondering, when you're going through a script, what hits you first? Is it the visuals that kind of inspire the music, or is it the emotion in the script and what the words are?
Yeah, I think it's the emotion and the story. And, when first reading a script, I'm trying to picture in my mind how a character's going to, where their arc's going to be, really, the journey, and where the essence of the story is. But actually, although sometimes I will start work at the script stage, I far prefer to wait until I've got a first cut, which might be 4 hours long, might be really, really long. And, and quite a lot of what I see is not going to end up in the final film. But at least then it brings me up to date with Ridley's thinking, what he's really thinking. It also gives me a little shot at what Janty's been dressing them in and how Darius has shot the damn thing. Because, if it's all kind of Michael Bay quick cutting, that's one thing. But if it's not going to be that, then it's not going to be that. So I can't really tell that from the script. The script doesn't really contain that sort of information. They all know what they're doing because they're pre-production and their production. Me, I'm a post guy, so it's all the actors have said their lines and got paid and gone home, and these guys have really done their work, and probably are prepping their next film by the time I start. It's interesting that we're like 6 to 8 months behind each other. I mean, I'm only just finished with Gucci, and you guys must feel like Gucci's ages ago, right?
We're prepping another one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you see, there you go. Anyhow, there you go. So yeah, for me, it's really exciting to see the first cut of the movie. The first cut of the movie, and I know that it's going to get reduced, and Ridley will shuffle his pack with his film editor, but then I can get an idea of what they've all been up to and how this is going to be. It was very clear from the script it was going to be a 3-chapter thing, and you know, the POV of everybody. But and having done Kingdom of Heaven with Ridley and a couple of other movies, I know that he knows how to shoot and capture that frosty, almost blue light of a snowy morning in northern France or somewhere really cold. He's good at that stuff.
Well, wonderful, thank you. And for you, Janci, the costuming, such beautiful details, and it's so absolutely beautiful. I just love your work. What I was wondering is, we know that this is based on true events, and this is well researched and well documented, but what was you able to add or change a little bit, say, per someone's personality? We have these different characters. So was you able to add in something that would kind of match in their personality, you know, along with what people actually wore back then?
Yes, completely. For example, Pierre, who is played by Ben Affleck, I just kept adding more stuff. You know, we put more jewels on him. We gave him gold and black shoes. We put more fur. It was just adding more and more until he looked like a Christmas tree. And I loved that. Also, we enhanced Adam's whole look. He got richer as he got richer, and he got more glamorous as he got richer. And his cloaks were longer, and his armor was golden or gilded, at least. You know, it was a lovely arc to build on. And Jodie, in fact, I started off making her glamorous clothes and then realized I needed actually to bring out the linens, so did that as well.
And for both of you, is there maybe probably something that we, when we're watching the movie, don't know about that really is hard when it comes to putting this all together, or a misconception that people may think about when they think of costume designing and cinematography and composing?
Well, I can tell you, and I'm going to be yelled at by Darius, but the armor is urethane. It's not steel, but it's brilliant paint effects. It looks wonderful, and it's very light for the actors and the stuntmen to wear, and it sustains. Whereas, I mean, they couldn't probably wear it for more than half an hour if it was steel. So that's kind of one big fat cheat.
For you, Darius?
I don't know. You mean the cheat? My lighting is very true to locations, to natural, and you know, I was trying to be as honest what the stuff would look like, and technology is there to capture it. So it's very, very minimalistic, available light. At night, it's candles and fireplaces, because that's what they had to see things, you know. And it's kind of murky, dark, because that's what it looks like. Yeah.
And for you, Harry?
That's interesting, Darius, you used the word honest, because the music had to definitely in this movie come from a very a pure perspective. I mean, it couldn't be passing judgment, as it were. So it often, you know, you might say, well, you can't understand what I mean by that, but I could make it a little clearer. You know, often in music is asked to make up for things that haven't perhaps been done. So say 2 actors are doing a scene and there's no tension when there needs to be tension. The actors have gone home. It's kind of late. But you can always do something with music. You can do something in the edit. You can perhaps sharply edit that scene to make people feel like there's something, some anxiety in the air. But you can also lay on layers and layers of music that do a similar thing. Now, that's all got its place. Not in this film at all.
No, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, it couldn't be the case. It had to be, because of the nature of the story, and also with Rid doesn't really go for that stuff. I mean, you know, if you listen to The Martian, it's probably more than 80 minutes of music in that movie, And some of it is doing a little bit of what I've described there, is building tension and anxiety where perhaps there needs to be more than there was there, mainly because we're on a film set quite a lot of the time. They're not really on Mars. So there has to be some, there has to be something what to this.
And also, it's a movie with a happy ending. This movie is not with a happy ending.
No,
Even
quite.
He wins the duel, but it's not, it's
But I was going to say,
kind of very
yeah, I was going to say,
reflective end.
exactly. I was going to, it reminds me of something that Jeffrey Katzenberg said to me when I was doing the first animation for him, Ants. There's the first scene in Ants, and you can see a load of ants that I guess they're in their colony or something. And the music that I had prepared for it wasn't particularly big. And he was like, Harry, we got to make people believe this is a bloody great big colony here. I need size to the music, so music can be used to accentuate things in a slightly, let's not say dishonest way, but an amplified way. So in this movie, it definitely wasn't. It's got to play a bit more straight as an arrow.
Right. For anyone who wants to take this question, last question, going through the script, did your perspective kind of change in your opinion when you was trying to find out who was telling the truth and who wasn't?
Oh, God.
Genty.
Oh, God. My perspective changed probably every week. I'd go and fit Adam and I'd believe him. You just really, it's so well written and also so well shot that you obviously realize in the end that she was speaking the truth, but really you do sympathize. Well, you empathize. You don't sympathize with Matt, but you empathize with him. And you even empathize with Adam because he was completely, in his own mind, as possibly other rapists, who knows, he thought he was being fancied madly, so I was completely swayed left, right and center until we actually got to filming, and then I was a complete me too, and so we carried on from there.
Right. Is it the same for both of you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. Thank you so much for speaking with me. Beautiful movie. Oscar nominations for all of you. Very serious, just superb. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.